Hello, welcome to my channel if this is the first one you've seen. So this video is all about why I think you should pick up an e-cigarette instead of smoking anymore. I was a smoker for 17 years. I could not give up. You speak to any of my friends and family, they will tell you I have the weakest will in the world. So every single Monday was the new beginning, the new me. I'm not going to be a smoker anymore. And then, a couple of hours later, I would be at a local newsagent's buying myself another packet of cigarettes. It wasn't until I spoke to a few people where I was working, they was all using e-cigarettes, so I was a bit interested. I was asking them some questions, and that one guy pointed me in the direction of a setup. I got it, and I haven't really looked back since. That was nearly 4 years ago. I haven't got an exact date, but it's coming up for 4 years, and I can't imagine having a cigarette since. So that's why I've done this video, because if it worked for me, then it will work for you as well. Before the video, I did a little bit of research, and the first one is that there's nearly 3 million people that have joined me in just using e-cigarettes predominantly. There's a lot more that use it, sort of dual use, so you'll smoke half and vape half, but there are over 3 million now that predominantly use e-cigarettes as their way of kicking the habit. The first reason why I think these are very successful is that you do keep that habit. So in the mornings when you're having your coffee or anything, that was one of my favourites. The first cigarette of the day, having my tea or having my coffee, I'd pick up a cigarette. So with this, you're keeping that habit. Or after dinner or anything like that, you're still getting that hand-to-mouth action. Whereas like a patch or anything like that, when I've tried that before, didn't know what to do with my hands. I was getting very agitated. At least with an e-cigarette, I could still, replicate the actions of actually smoking, which I think really helped, even just subconsciously as well. I looked on Cancer Research UK. I'll put a link in the description. So they're a big advocate now of e-cigarettes. The reason being is we're lucky to have our NHS, and our NHS is free for us, basically. And they don't want us to be sick. They want to free up hospital beds. They want to free up doctors' times. They don't want to be dealing with people that have smoking related diseases or cancer or anything like that. So they are singing e-cig praises because they can see that for people like myself who've got the weak will that can't give up, they're seeing that this is proven to be the best way, the most successful way to give up. It's not a miracle in itself. It will still require willpower, but it does reduce the levels of willpower that you're going to need. You're not going to be getting all the nasties from the smoking, and that's what your body's still going to be craving. Some of that, all the carcinogenics, the other nasty chemicals and that you're putting through your body multiple times during that day. You will be getting some nicotine instead, so that will help alleviate some of them cravings, take off some of the edge. So depending on the levels of nicotine that you choose to have, can help as well. Going for like the higher nicotine, obviously when you first start, it's normally recommended because that's when it's it's peak of difficulty, should I say. They do state on that website as well that the average smoker will spend around about £400 every 3 months. This is obviously averages, but then the average e-cigarette user will spend around about 190 in the same time frame. You can spend obviously a lot more on e-cigarettes. I've done so myself with all these big fancy machines that that makes you look like a steam engine or anything like that coming through. But you don't need them sort of devices. You can stick with one of these. One of my good friends had a basic setup for longer than I've been vaping for, and he still uses that to this day, and it is very, very cheap for him. So that's always a good incentive as well. Bit of extra money in the pocket, everyone loves that. Also, another incentive is secondhand. So if you've got children, you've got family that doesn't smoke as well, you're not going to want to be letting them passive smoke. Or, even when you've had your cigarette and you come inside, you're going to smell. With e-cigarettes, they've had some studies done in vape shops and everything. They've tested the air. It's come back so low that it's barely registerable. They couldn't even register it as a proper number. It was that low. And the smell on your clothes, unless you've got something very, very sweet in an e-liquid, it's not going to stick to you at all. You're not going to even know that you've had anything. But even when it is a really, really sweet e-liquid, it's nowhere near the levels of smoke, and it still goes. It still goes very, very quickly. So that's another incentive as well. So yeah, money. You could keep the habit for now. If you so enjoy it, it wins. It wins on so many different ways. I will say, when you first try and just, each time that you're feeling like you really need that cigarette, just pick up the vape first. Vape away for that 5 minutes, and I'm sure that in the end you won't even bother. And then even then you can just start lowering your nicotine. You don't have to keep on vaping all the time either. A lot of people do try to then end up going to zero and then completely giving up, and that is a really good option with e-cigarettes. You've got that control of nicotine and how many puffs you have and everything like that. Don't be put off by the horror stories. Our friends over the pond, they seem to be fighting a losing battle at the moment. I hope they do, prevail. But they've got so many of these so-called studies that without having a tinfoil hat on my head, are pretty much going to be funded by big tobacco. Big tobacco are so powerful over there. The governments and that are in debt to a lot of big tobacco companies and that as well. So they're not going to want to lose out. Why would they want people to stop smoking? People pay for their healthcare over there as well. So a lot of these bad reports generally are coming from over the pond. So don't believe all that. And with e-cig exploding in your pockets and stuff like that as well, they're generally user error. So there are products out there that the user has to be the safety. Whereas if you come into a vape shop and you're trying out, you're getting something like these ones here, these are all going to have little safety chips inside them. So if you're worried about these blowing up, you might as well be worried about your phone blowing up, because it's about the same sort of levels of risk there. There's always a risk with a battery blowing up, but with all the chips and the safety there, it's going to be very, very low. So yeah, I hope that you find this at all helpful. If you show this to a smoker, to maybe convince them to give up, and say and tell them how much better you're feeling. I know for a fact my breathing is so much better, and my smells come back, my taste has come back. It does really, really help. I'm stuttering my words here. But yeah, if you can leave a like, you can subscribe for me, that would be great. You can just tell me in the comments of anything that you would like to see me do. My videos will get better. I will be a bit more comfortable the more I do this. So yeah, until next time, stay safe.